Let's bring in Paul right now. And when we're talking about the fires down in Southern California, this is happening in the dead of winter in the middle of January.
Yeah.
But really not surprised because last year was the hottest year on record.
Right. Globally, hottest year on record, and in the United States, the hottest year on record as well. So climate change is just the very heavy foot on the accelerator of whatever the weather would ordinarily be doing. So let's take a look at some of the numbers here, and I'm going to pop up the map next to me, the chart of global temperature dating back to 1850. Now, again, 1880, excuse me. Now, the record keeping does get a little dodgy as you go back in time, but are there ways to kind of fill in the historical record using some other data sources? Over the past about 50 years or so, the satellite era, that's where the data is really reliable, and you see the clear trend of temperatures going up. And this is the first year that we have cracked that 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold on a global basis. Depending on how you measure things, there are different ways that these agencies do compile the data. The numbers have come in between 1.46 degrees and 1.64 degrees. It rounds off to be that in excess of that 1.5 degree threshold that's so important that we not exceed on a long-term basis. The 10 hottest years on record in the United States, 2024 has eclipsed 2012 as the hottest year on record. And you see how most of these have occurred within the last 20 years. 1998 is the outlier, and that was a strong El Nino year. Let's take a look at what's happening locally right now. And well, we're seeing quite a bit of fog rolling into San Francisco. This is the view from Salesforce Tower towards the Golden Gate. Temperature in the city has dipped down to 57 degrees, still holding on to 63 in San Jose after a record-setting high temperature in the mid-70s this afternoon. But right now, a mix of 50s and 60s. Those numbers will continue to drop off. The fog is not going to be a big factor as we head through the rest of tonight, which may be a little surprising considering how aggressive it's behaving so far. The reason is that the offshore winds are going to kick in as we head through the rest of tonight. So another burst of offshore winds, not nearly as strong as what they've been experiencing in Southern California, but it's going to help to disperse that fog as the wind advisory goes into effect at midnight tonight for the higher elevations of the Bay Area. This does not include the valleys or Bayside or the coast. Most of the Bay Area's population is excluded from these wind advisories because the winds are not going to be as strong in the valleys. Take a look at some of the forecast peak wind gusts in 28 miles an hour in San Jose. Could be a little bit stronger right along the coast to Half Moon Bay at 44 miles an hour, but generally we're talking about 25 to 35 mile an hour gusts on the high end of the spectrum. One of the exceptions to that, Fairfield, where you are included in the wind advisory, up to a 48 mile an hour gust expected there, especially late in the day tomorrow. We'll keep an eye on all of that as we head through the next several days, but what we really need is some rain in the forecast, and we're not going to see that anytime soon. Let's take a look at the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. The longer these offshore winds persist and the longer that we're rain free, eventually our fire threat's going to go up as well. In the short term, we're okay, but drier than normal conditions likely in that 6 to 10 day outlook, also likely in the 8 to 14 day outlook. That takes us all the way to January 24th. I was looking at some of the really long range data, and it's showing that maybe we go through the rest of January without any rainfall. That's really speculative. That's why we don't show that on television very often, but it's still something we're going to have to watch very carefully. Let's take a look at our forecast for tomorrow. Let me scroll down and find the right thing on the map here and talk about tomorrow's high temperatures, which are going to top out in the 60s for most of the Bay Area. Not quite as warm in the Santa Clara Valley, where temperatures climbed up into the mid-70s today, but you're going to make it up into the upper half of the 60s tomorrow. With that offshore wind stirring the atmosphere around, there's not going to be a whole lot of variation. Everybody between 62 and 67 degrees. It's not going to be a whole lot of difference across the entire region as we head through tomorrow afternoon, with very similar temperatures in store for everybody for the second half of the weekend. Let's take a look at the 7-day outlook, and we're going to see temperatures reaching down to closer to normal levels by Wednesday and Thursday of next week, and beginning already on Tuesday. But the big drop in temperatures happens a week from today, down into the mid-50s with a little additional cloud cover, but still absolutely no rain in sight. Ryan.
All right, thanks, Paul.